Hello everyone, this is Grace, and today I'm going to be doing my article of choice reflection. And the article that I chose was Avoiding the Ineffective Keyword Strategy. Has three authors by the names of Karp, Bush, and Doherty. I'm realizing I pronounced that third author's name wrong in my last video. But anyway, the reason that I chose this article out of our choices is because the title really just drew me in. I feel like during my educational journey, especially in math classes, I've always been told, oh, look for the key words, look for the key details to know what to do, especially when it comes to word problems. So the title just really intrigued me because I wanted to know what the authors had to say in terms of key words. Like, I feel like that's normally a good thing, so I wanted to know why it could be ineffective at times. And also because Jocelyn, Abby, and I, our MTE standard that we worked with had to do with word problems, and so I really just wanted to dive in a little bit deeper behind the concept of word problems and how we can make them better for our students. So my questions were pretty quickly answered as I was reading this article as to what the authors meant by ineffective keyword strategy. And what they mean by this is that sometimes, students, when they're looking at a word problem, they really just want the answer most of the time. So they're just going to look at the numbers and they're going to look for a phrase like in all or all together, and they're just going to jump to addition without even thinking about the context of the problem. That problem could very well be a multiplication or division problem, but they just see those few quote-unquote key words that inform them of an operation in their mind, and they're just going to run with that operation without attending to the context of the problem. And I can really relate this back to the Rules That Expire article, just because I feel like a lot of times in elementary school, teachers really drill into your head to always look for, sum, that means addition. Altogether, that's going to mean addition. Difference, that's going to mean subtraction. While this is true sometimes, it's not always going to be true. We really have to attend to precision and look at what the problem is actually asking us. And if we're simply just looking for keywords and not doing anything beyond that, we're really cheating ourselves of diving into the math and grappling with it. We're simply, we're kind of just taking the lazy route if we're just looking for keywords that inform us of the operation. So I think this really emphasizes to me that as a teacher, no matter what grade I teach, I really need to, get my students prepared to look more at the context rather than just looking for words that will tell them of an operation, because these keywords are not always, they don't always tie together with the operation that you think they would, as shown in some of the examples in the article that showed student work. The second takeaway I have here is that the goal is making sense of problems. It's not enough to just be able to plug and chug numbers and get an answer. If that were the case and that was the goal of our mathematics education, we would just have our students sit down and do equation sheets just like those timetable multiplication tests you took in elementary school back in the day. The goal is not to just plug and chug. The goal is to make sense of the problems that are being asked. I kind of relate this back to my MTE teaching our lesson, how a lot of the students, when we presented the numberless word problem, some of them were confused because, there weren't any numbers at first to work with. There weren't any key words, quote unquote, that informed them of what operation they would be doing. So they were kind of confused on what they would ultimately be solving for. And as we added the steps in, this really was more intentional, and it really showed them the process of how to make sense of the word problems. And so I personally really do enjoy the numberless word problem strategy and would use it in my future classroom, just because, the students did have to reason. They did have to think about it in multiple steps as they were given more and more information. They couldn't just plug and chug. So really, the moral of this story that I'm telling is that in the future, I will really focus on being intentional with my word problem choices, making sure that they aren't just easy to plug and chug solve, and that students will have to mathematically reason and grapple, and they are going to have to attend to added steps that may get added and thrown at them, because they need to be flexible learners. They need to be able to apply what they know regardless of the scenario. So lastly, to kind of wrap up this video, I want to talk about some helpful ways that I pulled that I would personally use in my own classroom to help my students reason through word problems. The first one is helping them become mathematical readers. Again, it's one thing to be able to read a word problem, it's one thing to be able to solve a math problem, but it's a different thing to be able to be a mathematical reader. I don't know if that's a real term, but I'm kind of making it one. But being a mathematical reader, in my mind, that's when you are able to find real keywords, real relevant information that you actually need to solve the problem, and not just looking for those quote-unquote keywords that are informing you of an operation. You're pulling the relevant information, you're using the numbers and and the language to inform yourself of what you should do. Because a lot of times in word problems, for example, when we were doing our MTE, we had two-step word problems that could technically be solved in a variety of ways. I think that teaching students to be mathematical readers will really help them to open up their minds to, entering problems in a variety of outlets. There's multiple ways to enter into a problem. Second of all, you can have students imagine the situation or act it out. For example, in the article when it was talking about the crayon problem, or it might have been colored pencils, when it said 3 boxes with a certain amount in each, when students were just adding 3 to the number of pencils, that didn't make any sense. So if you were to have your students act out the problem, then they would know, oh, there's 3 boxes total with this amount of pencils or crayons in each box, informing them that it's a multiplication problem. So really, just having visual aids can be extremely helpful in the classroom as well. And lastly, I kind of touched on this earlier, but really just avoiding rules that expire, not telling students that every time you see this phrase, it's going to mean this operation, because that's just not true. And elementary school students are very easily influenced, and what we say is going to stick with them. So I want to set my students up for future success, and I do not want to tell them things that they will take as law in their future academic career and progressions as well. So these are just some takeaways that I had from this article. I hope you enjoyed listening to what I have to say. And yeah, I'm kind of sad these article reflections are coming to an end, but I've been able to learn a lot that will inform my future pedagogy. And so yeah, I will really just take this message to heart, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Bye!